Hello again, it's Jillian. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So on this channel, I typically channel messages from the Akashic Records based on different topics. However, I am intending to add in a little bit more kind of who I really am so that you can get to know me as the human Jill who is experiencing this, as well as Jillian, the channel, who shares messages from the higher dimensions. So I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but it didn't quite feel like the right time. So I've asked for this video to play out exactly as it's supposed to, for me to share whatever is in alignment, and for it to reach the ears of all who need to hear it. So before I forget, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment if you'd like, and let's get into it. So the inspiration for this video came when I was out on a walk a couple days ago, and I was just thinking about this year. And I really truly feel like I have gone through a complete shift in consciousness this year. I feel like the main sort of core shift was switching from one of my last, I would say, big wounds that was always there, but I didn't know how to recognize it, or it didn't feel like something that was not who I was because it had been there so long that it felt like it was just part of who I was. But this is the anxious attachment style. And I, for the last couple of years now, have been in sort of the surrender mode where I go with the flow, I let life carry me, I follow the way my body feels. I've been doing a ton of inner work on getting to know my body better and my, the feelings I feel and the emotions and the senses, and, just getting to know who I am on that deep body level so that I can feel calm in moments of interaction and in decision making and just throughout my everyday life. Because I have had anxiety my whole life. I didn't really know or understand or categorize it as anxiety, but just this constant voice in my head, always, trying to choose the best path, always trying to foresee all the possibilities so that I would have a plan and an idea for each, always overthinking conversations, overthinking experiences, feeling too much into other people's stuff, making ideas in my head about what possibly could be going on in them. And, it was just this part of how my brain functioned and who I was. And a lot of it I do think was caused because of this massive energy field that I have and this heart chakra, and really being sensitive to other people's emotions for a very long time. I couldn't distinguish what was someone else's, what was mine. I would often even take on other people's emotions thinking that they were my own. And it took a lot of inner work and, frankly, feeling through my emotions and learning how to do that in a way that is effective, but also that I can apply throughout every day, right? Because a lot of times we go to ceremony, or we take a couple weeks, or we're busy, and then we finally get downtime, and then we get sick, or we have a big emotional breakdown. All of this comes from a backlog of emotion. And so really just slowing down. But anyways, because I've been able to do that, I find that my anxiety has been better. And I was in a situation where I was kind of forced to confront my anxious attachment, and it was in a situation that felt safe, where I was given space to share my emotions and almost to experience the safety externally, and recognize that I was able to hold that space for myself, and that it wasn't always necessary. And sometimes it was actually, putting too much of my emotional responsibility on others. So finding that balance and really forcing myself to sit in space, because I've done a lot of hypnosis work, inner child work, understanding what the reality was for my inner child so that I can sit through her uncomfortable emotions that she wasn't able to feel in the present moment if I need to. And one of those things was space. It felt unsafe because I was a very busy kid. I was doing a lot of things. I didn't really have a lot of space and time to just relax. And if I was relaxing, I was thinking about what I should have been doing, needed to be doing, could have been doing, whatever. For many reasons, space was very unsafe to me. So I just been letting myself, even in relationships, sit in the uncomfortable space, sit in the energy of the not knowing, of the unknown, of that limerence sort of energy. And it's been difficult AF, but it has been so worth it because now I enjoy space and now I accept the present moment. Whereas, before space felt unsafe. And I've shared on this before with, coaching clients, but a lot of us who are also very intuitive. So people who, when we are very open, right? We're perceiving things that we don't even know we're perceiving, but we are still perceiving them with what we're capable of in our minds. So intuition, right? When we can see a path towards the future that we like, sometimes we can get really stuck to that path and it blocks us from seeing what the other potentials are. So there's also this balance in releasing some of the expectations to the unknown while still knowing yourself enough to make decisions that are in alignment with what it truly is that you want, sort of as you're moving more towards it. So I saw a great post the other day talking about sort of the different stages of consciousness, and it was worded a little differently than I'd heard, and I really loved how it said, the final stage sort of is living as me. It's truly a balance of what's outside mine, what's in me, what is my truth, what is my best choice based on what my truth is, moving through life with clarity. And then as you make those choices and things start working out, you gain more confidence, and it's a positive spiraling tunnel from that point. But we often go, when we're in sort of a lower state of consciousness, we don't have that awareness of the higher consciousness yet, and so we're living as what our current truth is to be. And we can also go back and forth. We can sort of be in this more expanded view, but we can also really be in like the first one, which was called the victim energy, which was like, poor me, what's happening to me, blaming on the external circumstances, projecting, which we're all capable of at different points. And if we're on this journey in this spiritual path, as we're learning more about ourselves, those points are revealed to us in the right time. And so there is this balance between trusting the path, trusting your higher self, but also knowing who you really are so that you're making decisions that are in alignment with your higher self. So you're in that flow because you're really like in alignment with your true stream. And when you're in that place of alignment, it's a self-loving place because you know that you're doing the best you can. You're making choices that feel the best for you. If it's not the best choice, you'll be shown the best choice. Everything is always going to work out, even if it doesn't work out the way that you expect it to work. Even the things that might seem bad could actually be good. We don't really know because we don't have the full picture. We'll never have the full picture, so we have to trust. It's this flow of beliefs that take time to come into our physical reality, and they only come in through the shedding of what's not true. So it's an uncomfortable process. It's not like, oh, you just wake up with enlightenment one day necessarily, although sometimes that does happen, right? But the true embodiment of the higher self is what allows us to swim through the flow more easily. I would say my spiritual journey was a little bit misshapen and maybe mismatched because when I first began on the spiritual journey, I was really I just loved all things, magical and spiritual, and I was still in a place of sort of wanting to escape reality and be in those higher states of consciousness all the time without really knowing that's what it was at the time. So I was going after practices like meditation and psychedelics and these types of things. And they were amazing because they did open me up to these higher states of consciousness. But unbeknownst to me, I was bypassing over a lot of the lower emotions that I didn't want to feel. I was using spirituality to almost stay in those higher vibrations. And then as I started working with Reiki, one of the amazing things about Reiki is that it's hard to describe with words, but it's a higher consciousness that knows who you are completely. So it works in reality and helps, speed up the process, shall we say, of clearing things out to get you onto your path. And so by fluke, I was working as a personal trainer at the time. And a little backstory for anyone who is maybe new here. I went through a really difficult breakup in 2016. And it left me broke. I broke my hand, so I couldn't work. I had to move to this like really sketchy apartment. I was working as a server, so I was, I had a lot of substance abuse issues and alcohol issues. Like I was drinking every day and partying all the time, every single weekend, sometimes during the week as well. And just like totally in this like bad place because the boyfriend, it was a very like traumatizing end to a relationship. And then I found meditation, and I had this really cool experience, my first meditation, where I just felt, it was like it opened something in me and I just felt like freaking on top of the world. It was like an amazing feeling, and I was like, I need more of this. So I started meditating more and partying less. And I was also, as well as serving, I was starting to run my own business. I was being a personal trainer, an at-home personal trainer. So I was in this business networking group, which is where I met one of my best friends now, and she's a massage therapist, and she was like, hey, I think you should learn Reiki. And when I learned it, it was just one of those things that felt natural and normal. I didn't really feel like I needed too many things like to learn. I already knew it all. And so learned the Reiki, thought it was the coolest thing ever, started practicing on everyone I could, started using it every day in my own practices because I created this crystal grid where I had all my intentions and I would charge it, and everything started working out with my business, and I started partying less, meditating more. And then I got into a new relationship, and that one also ended really badly. And I used the Reiki to heal the hostility that I felt towards this man and another woman who were involved. And like fast forward a few years, her and I totally reconciled things. But after that breakup, I like stepped even more into my spirituality, and I started recording meditations and sharing them with people. And I just loved talking. Like it was like, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then the pandemic happened, and that was a huge shift for me because my business that had been thriving and I was going into people's homes could no longer happen. So I started doing some online coaching, and that's when my Reiki business started really taking off because I started teaching online Reiki classes, doing lots of sessions, and that was a really powerful year for me because I was pretty much cut off from the outside world. I stopped drinking. I was vegan at the time. And so I was just totally clearing out a lot of stuff. And then I got into another relationship. Relationships have always been a really big teacher for me. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I just have been working on healing my anxious attachment. So I've been attracting some pretty powerful mirrors, we'll say. But then during that relationship is when I found the Akashic Records, and they changed the game yet again. The Reiki guided me on the path, and I was clearing out and healing a lot of my beliefs and all of this stuff, but I wasn't applying them to the real world. So I was still attracting real life experiences that weren't a match to my beliefs. So when I found the Akashic Records, that teacher, I was just scrolling on Instagram. She was posting something. I really resonated with it. And it happened that she was teaching a class on how to read your records, and it was affordable to me. So I did it. And it was one of those things I never knew I could do. And I could just do it. It just happened. And you could like feel the shift in consciousness. You could feel the information that was different, that wasn't information that you knew before. And then suddenly you know it. So I knew it was like working and it was real and I wasn't making it up, which for a long time, I didn't know that I had psychic gifts because I just had inner knowing, and inner knowing is often gaslit and shaken off and mistaken for other things. So anyways, I did all of those courses, started working with the records. Those guides started working with me, and I was led to yoni healing. And I also did a lot of healing and clearing in the records, which they have the ability to access all 7 of your energy layers, which is a lot of the lower chakra stuff is those deep, like ancestral or past life stuff. And it's hard to get out with traditional energy healing. So I was clearing stuff out and I was guided to womb healing. I wanted to get in touch with my sexual energy. And once again, just thought yoni eggs were really cool. There's a theme. The things that I think are really cool have been really meaningful to me. But anyway, and I did this year-long program. And this is where I often say the work, we think it's all like we have our logical brain which wants to see like A, B, here's proof, but when we're doing feminine energy healing, it's like the work is happening through us and then we're doing it on the external world, so it doesn't feel like we're doing spiritual work because we're just living life and going through challenging experiences or conversations or whatever. But that is where the work is actually happening when we're doing this lower chakra work. And that relationship failed. I ended up back in my grandma's old house. And like once I started doing that deep yoni work and all of that energy work, I'm in my grandma's old house on the land I grew up in. And when I first moved back, I was like, great, fresh start. Everything's going to be great. Yeah, pause. I had all of this lower chakra stuff to clear out still because I had neglected it at the beginning of my journey because I didn't know. And that was like it's basically the physicality of it all. So the chronic fatigue, oh my gosh, these last couple of years, weight fluctuation, I luckily didn't have very much chronic illness or any major symptoms, but my period has totally balanced out. Like I totally am in tune with my body's phases and cycles now, and I know my body really well now. And my body also responds really well to my energy and my frequency. Another note on the body is that I went from a vegan diet when I took my Reiki master class because it alters your energy frequency. When I took that class, I went on a vegan diet because my body was at such a light energy that I couldn't hold that frequency of energy, right? Animals, energy, density, all of that. I couldn't move it through properly. And as I'm saying that, I'm having just like an aha moment over here. It's like, oh, interesting that as you become more grounded, you're able to move through denser energies, because that even happens with emotional processing, right? You're able to hold more space for those heavier frequencies and dense energies, and you're able to be around that without it affecting you so much. So like you literally become a stronger channel that's able to channel not such high vibrational energy, like some lower frequency energy. And I also just began to be able to eat gluten again this summer, and like dairy, like ice cream and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Anyway, side note. But But yeah, so I've just been getting really in tune with my body, sleeping and resting a ton, lots of alone time, and tons of emotional processing, like all of the childhood stuff, all of the ancestral stuff, difficult moments where I have to face difficult things, learning really what my emotions are, like doing all of this deep inner work. And kind of the last, I would say, pin was this anxious, secure attachment style that I have been working through and sitting with the space and like more of these more challenging emotions. On the way to loving myself, right? Obviously, I'm in very close proximity to my parents right now. That's where a lot of the inner child work happens. I'm on the actual land that I grew up on. Like the energy that goes down is interacting with the same energy that was here. So that's all being cleared out. So many energetic components to this, like that go beyond the physical and the words that I'm sharing with you, right? So many unseen parts that are happening and healing and clearing. And it's been a process. But through this process, I feel as though I've had an actual shift in consciousness where I'm viewing my human experience and my emotions and my thoughts differently than I did before. And I saw a Instagram reel the other day or so where a guy was talking about like the higher voice, and he was like doing this. And that is really how it feels. I almost feel like I'm sitting above sometimes when I tune in. Obviously, I'm living my day-to-day experience and day-to-day life as Jillian, and I'm not constantly viewing the world this way. But when I'm tuning in, it feels as though I'm almost watching, and I can feel through what's happening in my body and what's happening in my mind. And when the difficult moments come, because they do, I move through them differently and relate to them differently than I would have before. And it's very powerful to look back and to see. And I'm really excited for what the future holds. I don't really know what the future holds, but I'm excited for it. And I feel very clear and grounded and just, different. And so I'm excited to be sort of stepping into this new realm of sharing on YouTube. And please let me know if anything I shared today resonates with you, or if you have any questions or anything about anything I talked about today. I am hoping to share more of these types of videos as time goes on and as I have new things to share, sort of from the perspective of Jillian and her spiritual experience rather than just the Akashic records and what they share, because that information is very important and powerful. But I also believe it's really important to show up as your human self and to be able to move through the emotions that are sort of standing in the way of you actually embodying all of those beliefs and all of those things that the records share. Because they're in such a high dimension, they are not attached to emotions, and we are. And one of the things one of my healers says is like, when you're from the higher dimensions, it has to come down through these other dimensions before it can land in you. And that means there's stuff that's being cleared and healed. And when you can sort of get to the other side of that emotional release phase and look back on it and see it from this new perspective, it's a really powerful moment. And so I'm starting to get to that place now where I'm sort of looking in hindsight and I'm understanding things a little bit more deeply. And the funny thing is, even as I was going through it, I understood it was happening. And that has been a big shift in the past couple years as well. It's like, even though things have been difficult and I've been going through hard times, I also am able to maintain the perspective of understanding why it's happening and sort of just let it happen and just move through it and accept where I'm at, rather than trying to push through or fix myself or, change who I am. And, a lot of these little beliefs that maybe I had before, that's what I've been doing in this work the last year, is like shifting the way that I actually relate to myself and the world around me. And it's challenging work, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. OMG. So yeah, I believe that's good enough for a little intro video, a little, checking the vibes with me, what's up with me. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned. I'm going to be doing an energy update. I don't know yet if I'm going to do it for all of September or if I'm going to focus in on the eclipse season, but I am going to be doing one of those soon. Those seem to be popular videos and I really like feeling into that. But yeah, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.